Alright, hello everyone. This is a very short little video. I've got other stuff coming this week, but this was a quick, easy thing to put together. I was going over a deck for Bruni on my stream a week ago, and thought this content came out pretty well despite being kind of unplanned and unscheduled. So I'm putting it up here. This is a startup Wayland list, and I thought it was a good enough discussion that it merited kind of being sort of preserved. So I hope you enjoy it. A couple times I start talking to viewers. Hopefully it's not too confusing. So, and if you don't already, I stream Tuesdays and Thursdays starting around 7 p.m. Eastern time for 2 to 3 hours most of the time, though sometimes I go longer. So come and stop by. I love having people stop by. And if you, as always, if you have replays to send me, that's how I got these replays from Bruni. Find me probably on Discord. I'm too active, and hit me up. So enjoy. This is they call it Boomer Wayland, boom not included. And it to me is it makes choices that are different from me. And I don't think that means they're wrong. It's playing for a different game than what I normally play when I'm playing Startup. And so this list I actually think is very it's running 3 Oak Towns, 3 Off-World Offices, so it's very big on the 4-2 agenda game plan. 1 Atlas, 1 Above the Law, and 2 Hostiles. So it really is about building up a big scoring remote with a clearinghouse threat, a wall-to-wall threat, a DRM, a government, and then so it actually is running 3 defensive upgrades. So we're looking to make a big old remote, maybe even a big old central. We got basically every advanceable ice you can possibly have. So we're looking to play a slow, grindy game, which actually is kind of the one scenario where I think Sprint is maybe better than Spin Doctor. There's nothing we're that worried about recurring. Yes, probably shuffling back the trashed upgrades really good. But this is definitely the sort of deck where you probably could think about shuffling. The one concern I have is if we're doing a slow, grindy deck, 10 agendas is a lot of agendas to be flowing through. So if I have my suspicion, the way this list is going to lose a lot is it just builds up a lot of agendas before it's quite ready to threaten scoring them. Yeah, the DRM with 10 agendas does seem a little suspicious. Okay, so I literally have not looked at this replay yet, but this is a very hard mulligan. Yep, no problems there. Yeah, this is a bit of an awkward start, but I could even see something like install 2 ice and then advance the Aket. Seems pretty reasonable. I generally value the Aket on HQ over R&D, but that might be because I'm more worried about runs on HQ. So what are we seeing? Runner goes gamble, gamble, draw, draw. Seems pretty good. We have an agenda. Okay, so we've clicked for a credit 3 times. Like, this I think, and I haven't watched enough Startup to know if this is a common thing that happens. But when I look at something like this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, this is 6 clicks invested, and you're at 8 credits with 3 ice. And I'm just a little bit worried that this list is going to struggle because runners can just like install 2 Rozekis and kind of be good. So yeah, wondering if this could be an Earth Station. Yeah, I think that, to me, this deck makes a lot of sense. The way this deck is kind of structured makes me think it wants to be an Earth Station list with 5/3s. Though maybe you do it in Built to Last with 5/3s. And maybe also because runners are so used to not having any face checks, you get a little more value off of stuff like a single advanced Aket. But like here, the runner actually can just go and run this wall to wall, and they're gonna do it. And that's kind of rough. Wall to wall seems like it's a huge part of your strategy here. I do like the double ice, and now going for like, okay, let's actually put some threat down. Runner's gonna put down a penny shaver, which is probably the weakest console they could put down here, though I guess there's not many good consoles in startup for criminal. It really is just penny shaver, because masterwork is not a great console with the card pool in startup, I think. And yeah, Simply Onion, I think you're pointing out, yeah, you don't have enough money if you just take this exact list and import it to Earth Station, but you could probably cut some of the defensive upgrades. But you also probably do need to switch the sprints into the spin doctors into sprints, because spin doctor can become quite annoying in Earth Station. All right, runner's draw and clicking for credits. So 12 credits to 3. We do get our remote here. We're going to get to score out. And, like, this isn't a terrible board state for us. The runner hasn't, like, we're not about to get doof-locked, so it's kind of okay. We're going for a Big Maker's Eye. This is probably pretty solid for them. They trash 2 Kayambe grids and steal an Atlas. That's like one of those things where it's like, it's technically probably fine for us because they just lost all of their credit lead. But a lot of our win condition is also about getting those upgrades down. So it can be a little bit hard to tell. And like, it's fun to do this, but this is really, the thing you have to remember is when you're installing and single advancing all this ice, you haven't actually changed any of the game text, so all you've done is clicked for a credit, which is why I think like advanceable ice is can be a little bit of a trap. And so even in the Earth Station list that I have, which I should be able to find somewhere, like it has advanceable ice, but that's because all of Wayland's ice is advanceable, more or less. I have a list that I've talked about in previous videos and streams, and it's like, yes, I have mostly advanceable ice here. Actually, even though my sentries aren't, it's just it's actually just Aket and Hordem are my only advanceable ice. The CSR campaign I think I've cut in later versions. Maybe I even have it in Jinteki. But the idea here is like, I will advance a couple of ice, the Pharaohs, the Aket, and the Hordems, but they're mostly there to be batteries for Trick of Light later in the game. And sometimes advancing them has some utility, but a lot of this list is about going fast and then leveraging Manigarm, Trick of Light to sort of close out games. And let's just go to my deck builder and see if I can do a quick filter for startup legal. So we're going to go Wayland, startup. Oh, did I delete all of them at some point? I must have. Startup, Oh, okay, right, because it is standard legal, even though it was built as startup. So, yeah, this is the list I had been running later. So it was just 2 Manigarms, 2 Trick of Lights, 3 Spin Doctors, wall-to-walls. I think I went slightly heavier on ice, grabbed a Subliminal, like just some small stuff. Oh, and the Malapert Data Vault. So that was sort of the idea behind this. So this is a much rushier list, and I don't look to go kind of slow and build up an inevitable board. It's about trying to use tempo to score. And wall-to-wall is just a wild card. It's just, it is probably the card I would play. It and Atlas are the cards I would play Wayland for. All right, so once again, Criminal is seeing 2 cards off of R&D, which, you know, it makes a lot of sense just given that that's the server they would be attacking here, because we're not scoring out of HQ. Though now HQ is quite flooded. They're going to retrieval run and install a Fem on the Aket, which is kind of cute. It does get away. It actually is a nice little tech for Aket, and eventually if they do it again, a tech for Pharaohs. So like it's a big influence lift in Zahya, but it's pretty cute. I'll say that much. Um, and 6 credits. We could have res this Aket. I guess in theory the Marana does an okay job of breaking it. Okay, so this is probably a turn. Well, we know this is double barrier, but we have a code gate in hand. So you could even think about end the Managarm. I think you're pretty safe to try and force an agenda through here. So that's what I would be looking to do. And that's exactly what you're doing. What's this triple upgrade? Kayambe, Anoetic, Managarm. This feels slightly over-invested, but like I think one of these defensive upgrades could go on R&D. Probably the Kayambe grade, I would think. And you'd be pretty happy. Hey, you know, who can't... Oaktown's a good agenda. It was Off-World Office 1.0. Huh. So, this is just a thing for runners. Instead of installing this, spending a click and 2 credits installing this boomerang, run archives, and that gets you the sucker counter and saves you 2 credits. So it's literally just better to break Aket that way. But so runner's going to see R&D a lot, and you can't really stop them. They should at some point probably run HQ because you did draw a lot through it. And they're sort of just drain their own credits for some reason here. I sort of missed how that happened because I'll admit to be clicking through this pretty quickly. And they get the agendas. Yeah. So, like, this is sort of how I thought this list would lose looking at it. Like it's trying to build up to this just incredible, like you're never getting in, like paying 6, 11, and then getting the run ended with Void. Like, yeah, no runner list is ever getting through that. But with 10 agendas in the list, you're gonna lose not infrequently just by the runner playing a little bit of multi-access. And in startup, I don't think there's a reason the runners shouldn't be on some multi-access, whether that's the Maker's Eye, Jailbreak, Legwork, Cusack, Dockland's Pass, whatever. And this corp list isn't well set to deal with the amount of agendas that are building up either in HQ or that get left in R&D. And so while this Doom remote feels really powerful as the corp, it's actually it's planning for a late game that often is never going to arrive. So that was this first replay that was sent in by the name they sent me was Bruni, and I have one more replay. I'm going to go through that kind of quickly. This versus a Hoshiko, and then maybe I'll talk a little bit about my RAM stuff. All right. Oh, it's Alaska. It's a familiar face. Yeah. So, I mean, like, the nice thing is this is clicking for a credit and it's threatening a lot of stuff in theory. I mean, this is another good reason to love Built to Last. Scoring this for net 7 credits, pretty darn good. It doesn't mean you're going to have a bad pub for all of the game, but, that's manageable. It's a little unfortunate that your game plan is built around taxing and you're getting bad pub out pretty early. I'm just thinking, I would generally prefer to advance the Ice Wall because you're never triple advancing the Whoredom, but, that's just sort of, like, that is the microest of micro things, and I think we've sort of talked about a little bit already strategically, maybe where this deck is going wrong. I don't think it's been, like, yeah. And this is, like, actually, I think a really good play. You're recognizing that your board state is further advanced for scoring than the runners is for stealing, and so you're going for agenda scores here, which I think is definitely the right play. Yeah, I guess this is fine. Yeah, it's probably better to do it this way, but I was trying to decide if you want to but you don't want to spend more money to get 1 extra credit, so that would be silly. Yeah, we're at 3 points. Very nice. We've got the wall-to-wall that hopefully we'll get. We managed to save the wall-to-wall, which is really a big deal. I'm not sure I love this play because HQ is going to be wide open here, and there is actually some real damage by having the runner know our entire hand. Oh, that's a good point. Simply the Onion. Yeah, this Horn does now look like a Colossus when it's not rezzed, which is a very nice threat. Though interestingly, the runner doesn't buy it, which is actually a kind of risky play for them because this is threatening to be the Colossus, give them a tag, and do the other stuff. But they're just hard calling it and saying it's not. Getting the wall-to-wall here. So what's this ice? I missed it. Oh, this is the Colossus. Okay. Well, the problem is this Colossus is basically blank now. So I wouldn't even be advancing it. This does actually feel like a bit of a mistake to me. I would be advancing this Colossus instead because this Colossus is never firing. It's at most giving the runner a tag. So, let's see. So your was draw a card, place an advancement, and then add it to HQ. And then, yeah, just say, well, you still don't have any icebreakers, so let's just install advance. And like this is really good court play, and this is how I like to play Built to Last, is you just start shoving stuff in the remote and scoring out. So now really what the runner should be doing is trying to pressure other servers. And trying to make sure you don't top deck agendas off of R&D. I guess now they get to start tearing apart the server, but it shouldn't be that relevant. Yeah, you get the double tax here. Though you only get to end the run once, so I guess they just get to go back in. They have a ton of money. Oh yeah, and they have a click left over to do this again. Okay. And now the Doom remote gets kind of taken apart. But you have Kayambe Grid. I don't love purging here. Because I don't feel like it does anything. Like, this is still going to get broken. This is still going to get... the relevant sub's still going to get broken there. The fourth ice... I think actually when this fourth ice was installed, I think it was reasonable. Yeah, so the fourth ice was installed after the botchless was installed. Now, this, I think, a pretty easy argument to say, oh, I should just trash this Colossus and I should trash this ice wall. Because they're never going to be relevant again. And so I'm just saving myself 2 credits and not costing the runner anything. But I actually don't think this ice install was wrong. Maybe just the not overwriting some of the other ice might have been a bit of an issue. Okay, so let's stick back forward. Yeah, so this purge is sort of giving the runner a whole turn. Alright, let's just click ahead. Gives the runner a whole turn where they get to do whatever they want, and they just play slow, solid net runner. And they just get to keep going here. A little surprised they're not checking HQ when you're at 2 credits. But you top deck or R&D, excuse me. If they could, at 5 credits here, or especially here with 1 click left, rather than drawing, I feel like you should run R&D because you'll draw a card anyway. And you get through an ice wall. So, I don't know, this seems like maybe they found the runner found the losing line here. So cool. I think this actually... So I think this second game really shows, I think, some of the cool power of Built to Last. where you can rush actually quite well. You have a lot of good rush tools. And so like the reason I go with Trick of Light in my built to last list is because it's a nice finisher. It's a way to sneak out agendas when you've built up a board state. You know, the defensive upgrades are really enticing, but you have to be careful about how you use them. You can kind of go for like, I'm going to be super, super control and sort of build up this inevitable doom remote. But if you're doing that, you don't want 10 agendas in the list. You want fewer agendas and you want more filtering options. And then if you want to play a rush list, which I think you really can in Built to Last, I think you're actually have some really good bones for that. You just want to think about what way you want to finish. I like finishing with Trick of Lights. Other people like finishing with, actually with something like Anoetic Void or Manic Arm Skunkworks or Kaon Bakerid. But if you're doing that, the clicks to advance all of your ice don't do too much most of the time, and they'd probably be better spent drawing a card so that you can get some forward tempo.